You don't have to be in the National Honor Society. You don't have to be first in your class. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. But you have to be somebody who's positive, who's open to opportunity, and who never gives up. Be true to yourself, because that is how you live a life worth living. Accolades and all of these other things are very nice, but if you can't communicate, if you can't get along with people, if you can't set your goals and move forward, it's all for naught. And also to have the faith.
Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy Smith and welcome to episode number 40 of the Rambler Podcast, where we are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. On this episode of the podcast, we are thrilled to have Bridget Barber as a guest on the podcast. Bridget graduated from Villa Maria Academy in 1970 and serves as the Vice President of External Affairs and Strategic Initiatives at the Barber National Institute. Bridget and her husband John have been married for 48 years and have 5 children. John, prep class of 1997, Eileen, Villa class of 2000, Bob, prep class of 2003, Brendan, prep class of 2008, and Patrick, prep class of 2009. Bridget is a registered nurse, graduating from Hammett School of Nursing and Villa Maria College, earning her Bachelor of Science degree. She was awarded membership in Kappa Gamma Pi and Sigma Theta Tau, both nursing honor societies, and has worked in numerous capacities as an RN in both hospital and community settings through the years. In 2000, Bridget joined the Barber National Institute, where she managed various different departments and spent the last 10 years developing the Department of External Affairs and Strategic Initiatives to what it is today. The department manages all external events, such as the Barber Ball, Community Art Show, Shillelagh Golf Tournament, and the Barber Beast on the Bay. All of these events raise additional funds to improve services for individuals and families that they serve. Their adult clients are given the opportunity to attend events through the year, such as the Christmas Dance, which is held the day after the Barber Ball at the same location, their annual art show, and an adapted course at the Beast on the Bay. Together, Bridget and John were honored with a Helping Hands Award from the Diocese of Erie and designated as the Knight and Lady of the Holy Sepulchre by Pope John Paul III. Bridget is a parishioner at St. Peter Cathedral and is a proud supporter of Catholic education and actively involved in the Erie community. Not only does she support children and adults in need through her work at the Barber National Institute, but also serves as a board member for St. Mary's Home of Erie in Asbury Woods. And recently we announced with the Cathedral Prep and Villa Maria President's Hall of Fame that Bridget is going to be a recipient of this award at our Legacy Gala event in March of 2024. So Bridget, we're so thrilled to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, Jimmy, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm very excited to visit with you and talk about what's going on. I'm very excited about the current status of prep and the fact that women have been, and I will call them women, because you have men of prep, so we're not going to say the girls of Villa, we're going to say the women of prep. But the women of Villa have now been incorporated into the tradition at Cathedral Preparatory School, which, having sent 4 sons to the high school, my husband and I have tremendous experience and respect for the level of education, the brotherhood, and now we'll call it the fellowship at the school, and the excellence in sports and again in education, but also in about every aspect of life. It's Cathedral Prep is a well-rounded educational institute and can only be enhanced by the addition of the women of Villa to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I couldn't agree more. You know, the unity that I've seen over my last few years, through this transition has been amazing. The amount of support from external people, such as yourself, knowing what your children received and what you received as an education from prep or Villa, to now what the school has become, and going through that first year of co-ed prep to now the second year. It's a new identity. It's a new school. There's a lot of momentum and excitement in the building. So, the things that you've said, we still carry on to the same experiences that you had at Villa or your children have had at Prep or Villa. So, yeah, we're excited about it. And we were talking before we hopped on the podcast, as you were showing me the family picture here. I was at Prep with Brendan and Patrick, and I remember them very well. And, it's just fun times, reminiscing on those times in high school and whatnot, as we'll talk about more for you as well on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, they all of the boys really, really, really enjoyed Cathedral Prep, and they made tremendous friends, and they are still in contact with those people. And our daughter at the villa, it was the same thing. My recollection of the villa at this time of the year, as we get into the season of Christmas and the holiday season, thinking about the traditions of the villa, and some of which Cathedral Prep has instituted. I see that, very excited to see that you're doing the ring ceremony, which was a very big deal. I have my villa ring on today,
look at that.
class
Nice.
of 70, Villa Marie Academy. So at this time of the year at the villa, located on West Lake Road, we would have Deck the Halls, and that was where a massive Christmas tree would be in the foyer, which was a 3-story foyer. And there would be a day where we would call it Deck the Halls, and we would celebrate, and we would all gather on the various stairwells up the 3 flights. This is the entire school, and sing Christmas carols. And it was just a very warm tradition. And so my memories of the villa are positive. It was an excellent school. The Sisters of St. Joseph played a very major role in my life. I went to St. Andrew's grade school, and the Sisters of St. Joseph there were still many of them, and they were teaching at St. Andrew's, and then on to the villa, same thing. So I have tremendous respect for the Sisters of St. Joseph, who have played a very major role in this merger with Cathedral Prep, that the sisters had to agree to it. Yes, it probably was painful, but we must always look towards the future, and that's something that they always did with reality, and not a fantasy about what's going to happen when you don't really have. They didn't have the financial support and the dwindling number of sisters. So this has been a wonderful marriage of the 2 schools, and I'm very excited about it. And if I was an 8th grader, I think I would be super excited about going to Cathedral Prep because of the education, but also having the co-ed experience with all the sports and the football games and the soccer and the camaraderie. So I'm very excited about it. Again, something that my husband's aunt, Dr. Barber, had always stressed was looking to the future. And, mired in the past or today, what can we do better? And how can we make things better tomorrow for the people that we serve? So very excited about it. I've had the opportunity to come down to Prep and see the new buildings, and the Salata Technology Center is just absolutely outstanding. And actually, Gene Salata's father, Orlando, is the architect who designed our north building, which is behind me here off East Bay Drive. So we have tremendous respect for the Salata family. So that is, kind of one of my memories, though, is Deck the Halls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned those early years, for time for you at Villa. And what were some of the things that helped shape who you are, that you were able to receive from being a student at Villa?
Well, I think that it was a very strong educational experience. And I think most especially, I remember when I went on to further education after high school, a lot of girls that I knew, because I went to nursing school, they didn't know how to write or to research, and that was something that I knew. Now, of course, it's all different. You do all of this online, but it was in the days when there was card catalogs, and I knew how to walk my way around a library and how to research and to be able to write a paper properly, and that is something that I learned at the Villa. Strong Catholic values and charity for others and community are some of the major things that I learned at the Villa. Interestingly, being out of high school for many, many years, which I never thought I'd be around at 52 years out of high school, a lot of the quote-unquote girls that we went to school with, we do get together regularly now. And it's interesting because, when you're in high school, there's this group and that group. But now it's very interesting because we're all just happy to, get together and celebrate our lives and talk about the villa. And and I will extend to them my support of the merger with Villa and Cathedral Prep.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that as well. And it's been, you were talking about just the school and your excitement that you would have had as an 8th grader going to, to see co-ed prep and to be there for the experiences and whatnot.
Right.
And I got to say, it is cool to walk through the halls during a school day and you get to see it because, it feels like it wasn't that long ago for me that I was there, but it's long enough that these kids were so little when I was there now.
Right.
To see the collaborative nature between the students now because of the intentionality of how we design the spaces where like you walk in that main entrance in this new student life center, that's like the main hub now for the students between, that's where we eat our lunches, that's where they have their study halls, that's where they're before school, after school meeting, and just a lot of crossover with different activities and sports and clubs where it's just a real unified family now. So it's the sisterhood of Villa and the brotherhood of Prep just combined in a beautiful way that now, like you said, it's looking forward into the future and to make these experiences best for the kids that are there now, not looking at the past and what maybe we had, but what's the best for those kids that are there now.
Right, and we have to address the fact that we don't have as many students as we had. I mean, I'm a baby boomer. I mean, there was millions of kids. I had a 5th grade class at St. Andrews. There was 60 kids in one room.
Wow.
Which you can't even, I don't even understand how that happened, but we had a very strict sister, and she was able to control the class. So
she had to be, right?
Oh, she had to be. But so that's no longer. So we have to look at reality. We just don't have as many students. And good for them, though, that they have the opportunity to come to prep, the boys and the girls, or the men and the women, and to get a tremendous experience in education.
Yeah. And when you look back at your experience, and also, and we touched a little bit about it, but when you were, being a parent of, students that were at Prep and Villa, what sticks to you the most from that vantage point? So now you're kind of you're on the other side of it now to see your children growing up in these schools and the experiences they had. What kind of sticks with you the most then from looking at that point of, kind of like your life and your experiences with Prep and Villa?
Well, the experience, our oldest son, his name is John, but we call him Jack, and we have since he was born, so he's Jack. Because my husband's John, so there's too many Johns in the family, so he's Jack. Jack had a marvelous experience. All the kids went to the former Cathedral Center school. So Cathedral Center is at 11th and Sass, and the church is right across kitty corner, and then Cathedral Prep, of course, is right next to the cathedral. And when Jack was in 8th grade, they had instituted the program where kids that were academically capable, the boys, it wouldn't have been the girls at that time, but now it can be the girls too, would go to Cathedral Prep for advanced courses in a couple of the areas of study. So interestingly, Jack would walk from St. Peter's. He'd have a tie with him and make sure he had a button-down shirt, because that's not what they wore at St. Peter's. Slip into that and then walk across the street and go to Prep. He was very honored to do that and excited. And I remember he called himself a sub-freshman because he wasn't really a freshman. He was a sub-freshman.
A sub-freshman.
So it was a great experience. And the same for Bob and Brendan and Patrick. A well-rounded experience with academics. Second to none. The boys all went to excellent colleges, as did our daughter Eileen. She went to John Carroll University, but the boys all were prepared. I certainly have fond memories of Mrs. Joanne Mullen. She was an amazing human being, one of a kind.
Yeah.
And she was an amazing teacher, an amazing, generous person. The boys would go to her house. She said, if you're having a lot of trouble with calculus, which of course all of them were, because the stuff they were doing was so complicated. But they might meet with her in the morning at school, or possibly at her home. And I'm so excited that you have dedicated the gymnasium over on West 12th Street to Joanne Mullen. She was an amazing human being.
she impacted the lives of a lot of people
Yes, she did.
through her time teaching, and it's
Right.
time and time again I hear about, and Mrs. Mullen, I didn't have her as a teacher, but I sure heard her in the hallway when I was
yes.
a student.
Yes.
But just the amount of stories I hear from people
Oh.
about their personal experience they had with her and
Yeah.
how much it impacted their lives and where they are now. It's a great, honor to name the gym after her for all that she did for the school and the students.
And when I'm thinking about Mrs. Mullen, it kind of makes me think about some of the other women that were in prep, and so they would be the sisters. Sister Jim. She was, she is an icon at prep. And Sister Rachel McGuire was at the time that Jack was at prep and Bobby. She was in the office at Cathedral Prep, and she was had a stern exterior, but she was really very playful and really enjoyed, having, at the time, Brendan and Patrick were little, very little when Jack was in school. And actually, they went to preschool in the basement of Cathedral, which is right next to prep, so they would see Jack. Their little preschool would trick or treat. The boys are probably like, "Why are you telling me that? Why are you saying that?" But anyway, so a lot of good memories for Cathedral Prep. So very excited. I've always been a proponent of what is going on at prep. I do have friends who have students at prep, male and female, and they've been very pleased.
Good.
So knowing this, I support it, and I'm very excited about the future for Catholic education in Erie.
Good. Well, I'm very glad to hear that, and that you're getting positive feedback from people who are living it now, with their kids there now.
Right.
But no, I appreciate you looking back at for us a little bit on the the memories you had as a student, and being a parent of between prep and Villa and all the experiences you've had, and it's great to see. I love reading bios for people, as I've said on these podcasts before, because it if anything, it makes me appreciate who I'm sitting down with that much more, and the accomplishments that you've had and the great work you're doing in our community, and we're appreciate of it. My wife and I, by the way, we do the Beast on the Bay every year for the last few years.
Oh,
yes.
Great.
So
Great.
The last 3 years we've been doing
Fantastic.
it. It's been a lot of fun. We always enjoy it. I always joke it's my favorite day of the year. And we do it together, her and I and another couple friend of ours.
Very nice.
We have a great time every year.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you have a great time. And that event was something that my husband came up with about 11, 12 years ago, because the Beast officially was 10 years old at our last Beast on the Bay last September. But he had been working out with a trainer at a local gym, and it was a female, and she kept leaving town to go to these various Tough Mudder events or whatever, what have you, something like that, these extreme obstacle events. And he said, "Well, what are they? What is that?" And she explained it, and he said, I wonder if we could do something like that in Erie to benefit the Barber Institute, and also have our individuals have the opportunity to participate.
Yeah.
So he came home and told me his idea, and being the naysayer, I said, "Well, that can't be done. I mean, it's at a state park. I don't know that the state would allow this." So he called the superintendent out at the park, who happened to be Harry Leslie at the time, and proposed that he was thinking about maybe putting together an extreme obstacle event to benefit the Barber National Institute, and also incorporating a course that would be adapted for our individuals, where they'd have the same finish line. And Harry Leslie was all about it.
Wow.
And that's how it started. And then he called Paul Nelson, who has just recently passed, whose family still owns Waldemere, and asked Mr. Nelson if he could use his parking lot to stage the event. And how John had this vision, I have no idea, because I kept saying, Mr. Nelson will never, no. He said, "Oh, great, yeah." And between what Harry Leslie said, I think the first week in September, after we close the main season, that would be good. And John says to Paul Nelson, "Well, Harry Leslie said maybe the first weekend in September after Labor Day." Paul Nelson, "Perfect. Well, the park is closed, but we still have our staff on." And he said, "We'd love to have you." So that's how it started. And then John contacted a local construction company and a structural engineer and some other people that did these events. And that's how it started.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I love hearing stories like that
Yeah.
because of how successful the event is now, but
Yeah.
just from the inception to how it kind of came together and
Yeah.
now what it is.
And we have a lot of community support. And I have to say, it just so happens a lot of the major companies that are actually bring heavy equipment out to the beach to help us set up are prep graduates. You know, we've got the Barnharts,
Yeah.
Tim and Brian, and we have the Shaw family, Building Systems Incorporated, who help us
Yeah.
out. So we're very grateful for that. And otherwise, we couldn't do that. So, yeah, we have an entire operation. That's an entire operation of itself, and I don't want to take it any further. But
I will say to any of the
yeah.
listeners on here, if you don't think you might be physical enough to do it, it's actually great because you can do the course however you want. So somebody like
Correct.
myself, I try to do every obstacle. I try to run most of it. But I also see a lot of people who they might skip an obstacle or two.
That's right, you
and then
can.
they'll do some of the ones that they know they can attempt. So
Correct.
it's a great course because you can take it however you want, but you get to basically support a great cause by having a fun day out at the beach, and it's usually beautiful weather. That time in
usually,
September.
we've had one
I
rainy
know.
day, but guess what? The participants loved it.
I would probably myself
Because
love
it's
that.
a little more comfortable when the rain is falling on you. You know, I have to say that that we are very grateful that so many people come to the event, and that for those that are real, you know, want to be timed athletes who are very, very serious about this whole thing, we do have timed heats. They're the first in the morning. There's a couple of them. And we do have the official timer equipment, and we have somebody come who does that. And so we do have that part of it too. But
Yes.
a lot of people that participate, we have the extreme obstacle athletes that come from all over the country and beyond. And then we have people such as yourself or families, even, you know, it's 16 and above. We have to put a little cap on it just so that nobody gets hurt out there. But
Yeah.
we have people that may walk the course. It's a 10-mile course. It goes through the beach. It goes into the water. It comes out and goes through part of the interior of the peninsula. But anyway, it's a great way to show off Erie and also to have a fun day, but you can do it at any level you choose to do it. And what's going on then for the individuals we serve that have physical or intellectual disabilities is we have created an adapted course, which Mr. Nelson allowed us to use part of the actual Waldemere property. And actually most of it is the water park. Well, we go in through, there's other parts of the actual property we use, and the individuals have, you know, their course, and everybody is funneled through the same finish line, and with a medal. And so that was the concept too. Just like everything we do, the ball is the same thing. We have, as you mentioned, and thank you for mentioning that, our Christmas ball, which is Saturday, December 9th this year, at the Bayfront Convention Center. The next day, on the 10th, we do have a Christmas party for the individuals. It's in the same exact area with the same decorations. Alcohol is removed, decaf coffee, pop, water, and a lot of snacks, and we have a DJ. And so they have their day too. So that everybody deserves the same level of respect and opportunity. And so that's something that we're very passionate about providing, as Dr. Barber would have wanted.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what's so exciting about it is the overall mission that you guys keep in the forefront of everything you do. And, you know, for your position,
Right.
you know, overseeing, I'm sure, so many different facets
Right.
of the organization between, you know, what your title speaks to. But
Right.
could you mind sharing with us, you know, some of the challenges that you faced as well in terms of, you know, your work you've had here and, you know, how you've, you know, overcame those, worked through those challenges and the successes you've also achieved? I think that would be some great wisdom to provide our listeners.
Well, I don't know if I have wisdom, but I think that I'm the kind of person who, faced with a challenge, I always say that there is some way to get through it. Just sometimes you have to be creative and just kind of sit down and think. Put your thinking cap on, maybe confer with other people, and see how we can get to a satisfactory end result. So when I first, you know, I've been married to John, as you said, for 48 years, and being part of the Barber family, I would always volunteer at different things, but I was working part of the time when we had small kids, but after the third child, I actually was home with the children until the late 90s when I did go to work again. But then John had asked me to come down to the Barber Institute when Dr. Barber passed away in 2000. He became the CEO, and he's actually a lawyer by trade. He thought he was maybe coming down to fill her position for a period of time until the board decided what we were going to do, and it was unanimously decided after probably the first year that they wanted John to stay on. So he actually ran his law practice simultaneously while working the first year, but he realized he had to close it. And the interesting thing that I can tell you for John is that he finds this extremely rewarding, and it's a passion. And you can't replace that kind of satisfaction with I shouldn't say it, but with just doing regular law. I mean, this has been it's a calling, it's a mission, and there have been some very happy times, and then there's some very painful times through the years, because this kind of work is caring for individuals and families with intellectual, physical disabilities and autism has its challenges, and unfortunately, state and federal governments don't actually cover everything that the individuals need, so that's why we do these events. We have a foundation now with which we've built up over the years, so if there's something that we need for the individuals, or the services, we have a place to go to say, hey, we have a foundation board that we can talk to and see if we can get additional funding for something that we need. So that's really how he came to be at the Barber Institute, and then asking me to come down. I am a nurse. I started doing nursing things for several years, overseeing the senior center, which we also do senior center care for individuals with physical and intellectual disabilities down on East Lake Road. And also I was overseeing EOC, which is the Employment Opportunity Center. We have a different name for it now, but that is where we job seek and job find for individuals looking for jobs. And so that is going very strong today because that's really where it's at, getting these individuals into the workplace. And with this terrible crunch we have with people, the employers needing workers, they are finding that there's many individuals that we serve that are very, very capable. And of course, what we do is we seek out something that we think the individual would be capable of doing after doing some studies with the individual, and then we try to match them with an employer. And we've had so many wonderful stories of success. So I'd certainly like to mention that. So if any employers locally are looking for workers that would have maybe some of the job skills that our individuals would have, please reach out to us at the Barber National Institute. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that all, and we actually at the event center have one of your employees working for us there.
Good.
So he's there during the day. He's helping get things tidied up around the building after our many sports and events that we're hosting every night. He's in there the next day and helping us get things back in order for the next day's activities. So I'm not sure exactly how long he's been there, but he's been there quite a while now, and he always does great work, and the place is in good shape.
Well, the individuals often have tremendous dedication. They have tremendous pride.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to worry about them showing up for work. They're going to show up.
They'll be there.
And they're very excited to be there. It's an opportunity for them. It helps them, makes them feel good. And certainly the employer feels good because you're getting the work done.
Correct.
And that's the other thing. We make sure if the employer is having issues after we've job trained and job coached, you just call us and we'll come back and intervene, because we're not trying to place people in a pretend job. This is a real job that they're doing, whatever it might be. It could be bagging groceries, bussing tables. It could be, some people do filing or some data work. It depends on what their strengths are.
Yeah.
So, there's really no limits. So that's exciting news. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, I can tell you he's definitely doing work there, because every time I'm walking through during the day, wherever it is, there's work being done.
Very good.
So, we've talked about it, the different events that you oversee, like, the Barber Ball, the Art Show. Of course, we talked about the Beast on the Bay, which is fun to hear about the inception of that. Can you talk about, you've alluded to it, the events and how they raise the funds for the Institute, but can you talk about the importance of those? Because, our listeners, I'm sure some have supported your events, some have heard of your events, but in terms of participating in them, can you talk to us about what participating in that event means to you and your organization?
Well, as a person, able-bodied person in the community, it's wonderful to have an event where we can bring people together to maybe have an art show or play golf or go to the ball or participate in the Beast and share the experience with other people for a good cause. The interesting aspect about every event we have is that we have an ancillary event that's connected to it that the individuals participate in. I've already told you about the Beast, that we have an adapted course, and that event is usually in the first Saturday in September after Labor Day at the Peninsula at Presque Isle State Park. And then the ball is the next event that we're having at the Bayfront Convention Center, which we sell tickets to the community, and we also actually have reduced rates for our staff. We want to encourage our staff to come. There are people too, and they like to go and have fun, and we give them a reduced rate to encourage them to be part of the event. But as we've already talked about, the next day we have a Christmas dance at the same setting for the individuals we serve, because they too deserve to have that kind of participation. So that's what we do for the ball.
Yeah.
So I want to just talk a little bit about the art show, which we have in April. So my husband's first cousin, Dr. Maureen Barber Carey, is she's vice president of the organization, senior vice president of the entire organization, but she's also essentially principal of the school. And she had come to John many, many years ago, and she's also an expert in autism, by the way. She came to John many, many years ago and said, John, I have this idea that I'd like to have an art show in April to celebrate Autism Awareness Month. And so she and John talked about it, and he said, a great idea, Maureen, but how about if we just do a community art show, and we invite anyone to participate, and we will not mention whether anybody has autism or any kind of disability. Anybody can enter, and perhaps the only criteria would be certain sizes or something like that about what the art would be, but also what the age group is. And that's it. Yeah. And that's really what we do. So over the years, our art show has, I think 15 years we've had it or more. The art show is an opportunity for local artists and artists who are not local, because the word is getting out, who have disabilities or not, and even students in the local schools. We send all call the entries to the schools. But anyway, we have people participate, and it's really, our categories are by age, by adult or child, and then by photography or other media, which would be pretty much anything else. So it has nothing to do with, there's no indication when you look at the piece, which they are all for sale, and this is in April. We do it early on in April. But anyway, what I'm getting to is we've had many individuals and students at the school, or community individuals with disabilities, who have won awards, because we give out awards. We have judges that we bring in from the community, but have also sold their art. So, and again, it's blind as far as does someone have a disability or not. That is not part of the equation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What an amazing, awesome opportunity then, when it's more or less, I don't want to say anonymous, but the fact that there's no depiction on whether somebody has autism or not. No. It's just a fair game in terms of the awards and the recognition.
It is.
That's really, really awesome.
Yeah, and we have third-party, we have 3 judges who are from the community, usually people who are either art appreciators, or teachers, or work in the area on some level. And that's how they judge the art, based on their eye. I mean, what are they with their experiences? So it's great. It's been a great event, and because of COVID, we had to go online, but we're back to live event and online. So we have, that's kind of the benefit of COVID. We had to learn how to do things using technology, and
Yeah.
so that's an enhancement now. So I think for a lot of us, it was difficult to get through COVID, but there's so many things that we learned that we can do,
Yeah.
and it enhances now what we do today.
Yeah, well, that's
So,
great.
yeah.
And as speaking about more of the community aspect to
Mm-hmm.
the work you do in your life, as I mentioned, being a board member for things like St. Mary's, Home of Erie, Asbury Woods, some of the different areas that you've served in the community. I was just kind of curious, how have you found the best ways to balance, your commitments between wanting to be a part of the community and serve on these boards and be involved, while also, your responsibilities here and also as a mom and wife, the
Right.
different things that you're juggling. And then, it's kind of off of that, what drives you also to be somebody who's vocal about supporting community efforts?
Well, we're all in this together, and I'm of the mind that I want Erie community to be the best community that could possibly be, that has a lot of different facets to it, that cares for other people, and that we celebrate the arts, and we take care of our older people, and that we have appreciation of natural resources. I was also, as an offshoot of working on the art show early on, I was asked to be on the board of Erie Arts and Culture, so I served on there for 7 years, and I learned a lot about community participation and how important it is, and so that really was, kind of the beginning of my serving on boards. I met people at Erie Arts and Culture because we were doing this art show. So anyway, I want to just say a couple things because it's something that I think you had asked me, before we started the podcast. Mm-hmm. How the heck does a nurse get to do all of these things, and how does that all kind of come together? Well, I came to the Institute in 2000 full-time, and I was doing nursing, overseeing the retirement center and some other nursing duties with the individuals. And John, being the CEO and having fresh eyes, would say, hey, we do have this little newsletter that we send around. It's black and white. I don't like that. We need to get photographs, and we need to really talk more about what we're doing in a more a grander scale. And so we had somebody who was working here very part-time, who was doing some work for Dr. Barber with this little newsletter, Mary Cuneo, who, by the way, just recently retired after many, many years of service. So I would go to Mary and say, Mary, John wants X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay. All right, well, okay. So how does he want that? Well, I don't know. They go back. So I was like this little ant going between one person and the other. And after several months of it, maybe a year, I said, John, we need to formalize this department. I mean, we didn't have a department. We need to formalize this action or this desire that you have to speak to the community. And actually, we were just starting our website then. That was all in the infancy. But to speak to the community and have our public face, but have it cohesive. And so that's really when I stepped out of everything else, and I established the Department of External Affairs. Strategic initiatives came later, but the Department of External Affairs, which was encompassing the events and also any of our printed media, and it was just Mary Cuneo and I.
Yeah.
And God bless Mary Cuneo. When we started the art show, which was one of our first big endeavors, she contacted John Vanko at the Art Museum, and that's how we got started. We borrowed a lot of their panels. He told us how to do it, what to do, and that's really how it started. But and then I really got involved in the events, and then one thing led to the other. We had a ball that we had been doing for years, and it was kind of like all kinds of different people were involved in it. It wasn't a cohesive process. So over time, we pulled the ball in. So we're doing the art show and the ball, and then the shillelagh. We jazzed that up. There was a period of time where John wanted to stop having the golf tournament because it wasn't successful. But Mary and I said, well, we think we can. So anyway, then I said, John, I need more help. So we hired a part-time person. And so over time now, the Department of External Affairs and Strategic Initiatives, we have a director of giving who is Laura Schaff, who actually is instrumental in all the events that we stage. And actually, Laura is a Villa graduate, by the way. And we have, as I said, Mary Cuneo just retired. We have Tammy Roach with us, who does all of our printed media and any of our information out to the community. Our Barber Spirit is our printed magazine that goes out 3 or 4 times a year, and any other media that we put together, and also she oversees the website. So we have 2 people that work under Tammy, who are working on all of the. We produce most of our own videos. Also, we have the camera equipment. We do bring in outside resources for the major things, but most of the things that we post on social media or on our website, we have produced ourselves. So Tammy oversees that, and then Laura Schaff oversees all the giving and all the events, all the background of taking in the funds and applying all that, and how we're executing the events. Laura really is somebody who has really helped to lead the Beast into being the event that it is. She's brought on many different people who are, we call them the Beast Builders, who work on their own time to help build the obstacles that they create, and so that she's very involved in that, and also staging the art show and the ball. And the golf tournament. So another event that we do, which is really though overseen by Dr. Maureen Barber Carey, that we just had, was the Ladies Only Luncheon. It's up at the Cockwa Club, and it's usually the Saturday before Thanksgiving. It's a sellout. It's very popular, but we also support that event. And we did bring in different vendors though for Grisé and for the technology. We do that for the ball too, and the art show. So. Yeah, so that's how it kind of started. It was a Department of External Affairs, and we have been very successful. We have a small, mighty department, and very always enthusiastic. I love hiring people. I don't have many in my department, but I love hiring people that are just out of college. We're a nonprofit. We don't pay a whole heck of a lot. Sure. But these people these students or new future employees are very hungry, and they're very well acquainted with the latest platform, because I certainly don't know what it is. I don't know. I even know there's something every day.
Yeah. I don't even try to keep up anymore.
But they know all this, and so we have a very sharp group. We're actually looking for a manager of marketing right now. One of our employees has gone on to another opportunity. So, but that's good, because we're always looking for new people, and it's always an exciting opportunity to give to somebody, and also for us to learn. Learning from young people is where it's at.
What a great team it sounds like you have.
It is. It is. Small but mighty.
Yeah, small but mighty, but the work that you guys do here is so important, and so when you have people that align with your mission and are passionate about it as much as you, it makes life so much easier, right? It makes life so much better to have people who share in that passion, where they're not just coming into a job, right? They're coming here because they're excited to be here, and they know, as I do with working for a nonprofit, somewhere like Prep, it means something when you're doing the work you're doing, and it's building towards something greater. Yes.
We have a mission, and our mission is actually posted out in the lobby here at 136 East Avenue. Dr. Barber's mission, and it really is about caring for people with physical and intellectual disabilities and autism and their families, and providing the highest quality of care, and having the educational resources here for our staff in the school. And programs for the individuals, and so that's what this is about. These events help to raise money that we use in the foundation, and that money goes towards maybe camp scholarships for kids in the summer. We have our own camps here. Dr. Maureen came up with Camp Connections many years ago for kids with autism, because kids with autism generally have quite a lot of difficulty making friends, because they don't have those social skills. And so we have a little camp that we have here, and many times we give scholarships to families for their student to come here
Yeah.
and participate in that. And then we have camps for the individuals with intellectual disabilities. And so another thing we do, another aspect of what we do here at the Barber Institute is we have many group homes in the Erie area. We're in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia also. And so we care for people 24 hours a day. We do have a nursing staff. They're here during the day hours. So that's another aspect of what we do in making sure that the quality of life for the individuals we serve is wonderful, and that they have a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying that every person that we serve has multiple physical challenges. So it can get pretty complicated, but it's important mission that we're all very happy to be involved with. So that's really what all of this is about.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, the fun that I have at Peace on the Bay and all the other things, it's all supporting the mission that you're serving here,
Right.
and the families and the
Exactly.
people that you can take care of and do it to the ability the best you can.
Right.
We've talked about your experience with Catholic education,
Right.
and between yourself personally and your
Yeah.
children. When you look at what role education, and specifically Catholic education, has for a community, can you talk about why you're such an advocate of that, and why you believe that's so important?
Well, I'm a proponent of the Catholic institution because I'm a practicing Catholic, but let's say I wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of Catholic education because there's rules and regulations, there's a framework, there is a positive community, there is a limit to people's behaviors that will be accepted, and there is a requirement that everybody they have to wear the same thing every day, so we don't have all kinds of different clothing things coming into play. Being a teenager is hard enough, and it's hard enough to negotiate that without all the stressors, especially in today's world. Although every decade and every era has their own challenges. There are a lot of challenges, and certainly technology is a blessing, but it's also something that can be a vice, and cyberbullying is something that exists, and so more so than ever, Catholic education stands up and says, we are going to educate these men and women, and we're going to infuse values, and there's rules, and there's regulations, and they have to follow it. And if they've never experienced that before, they're going to experience it now, and hopefully they'll figure it out. And if they don't, well, I don't know if you do demerits, but there used to be demerits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still,
Okay.
yeah.
And they have an opportunity to do that. But I think, especially in today's world, we need to have a framework. It's a warm, loving framework, but it's warm and loving as long as you're following along. And if you want to be an outlier, then and push against it to the extent that it's not for you, then it's not. But what I appreciate about Catholic education, and I'm going to extend it beyond Cathedral Prep here, because I have kids in Chicago that have kids, and they all go to Catholic schools, and they're very grateful for it because of the structures.
Yeah.
And I can certainly say that through COVID, the only schools that were still teaching a bit in person, and certainly mostly online, but it was continuing to be available, and people were moving forward, was in the Catholic realm. And I know that for a fact, and I presume Prep was doing the same thing, that people weren't idly sitting around watching movies. And if they were, you can watch movies all you want, but you better pass the test. So.
Yeah. Well, and I would agree with you on what you're saying. Those expectations, those standards, it raises your bar, as when you're a student there, to have to meet those levels of standards and expectations, like you said,
right.
And you were talking about. And, in the end, we share a mission in developing these young men and women, to basically be able to go out there in life and pursue their dreams and their passions with a level of a standard of excellence through the education we can give them, but also all the intangibles that they receive by coming to Prep. and previously Villa, that they can go on and achieve greatness in life to whatever that might be for them. But having the opportunity to get that framework around those 4 years, that they're just short 4 years, as we all know who are alumni of the school, know how fast those go, to go out there and pursue success as they may define it. And that's why I've been a strong proponent and proud of my time at prep. And any young kid or family member that has an opportunity to possibly go to prep, and telling them, make sure you go to the open house, you check it out, you go see, because if you see what I saw, you're gonna love it there, and you're gonna appreciate it, your time there. One of the questions, as we'll start to kind of wind down for the podcast here, that a few more questions for you. There's a lot of some alumni, some not, but listening to this podcast episode that they might be young in their career, or they're at a spot where they want to do more, or they want to make an impact in their lives. They're hearing about the stuff you're talking about, and how community driven you are, or how mission focused you are in the work you're doing. What advice would you give to people who want to make a positive impact in their communities, but maybe they don't know where to start even? What advice would you give them, drawing from your own personal experience and journey?
Well, I think the first thing is that being a accepting person and being an open, warm person is key to happiness. And also, of course, I practicing the faith, but you don't have to, as long as you have good values. And part of having good values is thinking about your fellow human being. And, just look around and see maybe where you could volunteer to make life a little better for somebody. But the first order of business for anybody is to make sure that they're motivated and happy in what they are doing, and to have some satisfaction. Because if you don't have satisfaction with what you're currently doing, whether it's going to school or the job that you have, it's kind of hard to have good vibes to go out and spread good cheer when you're not in a very good place. So that would be my advice, is to be yourself, but also don't be afraid to be who you are, and to be open, and to be kind of looking for opportunities. And in this day and age, it's also nice to just be friendly to people when you're around. Smile, or maybe open the door for somebody, and get to know the people you work with. But pencils sharpened, heads down. Showing my age here, but get your work done. But then look around and see what opportunities there might be, in your church or in your community. I was never really a sports person, but many of my sons have coached different teams when they've been able to. Some of them have been prep. One was a prep team, and one of the boys did out in Harbor Creek to do that kind of thing. Or so there's just, if you just look around, there's opportunities. It could be right next door to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of opportunities. It's just, seek out what you're passionate about, and go out there and see what you can do, because most organizations are looking for help. So you call and you ask, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
They'll probably have a list of things they can get you started with.
That's right. That's right. And it may be asking for your time, or maybe they need some supplies, or who knows what.
Yeah.
But there's always an opportunity to reach out and help others. But I really want to be able to say that I think I said this before we started the podcast, that we were just visiting our son who's in the Marines, Brendan. He's a lawyer in the Marines out in Camp Pendleton. And I said, when I go back to Erie, I'm going to be doing a podcast with Jimmy Smith. And he said, I listened to that podcast. So there you go, out in San Diego, California. And we have a son, Jack, in Chicago, and our daughter, Eileen, is in Chicago. And Patrick and Bob are here in Erie, and they're tremendous supporters of Cathedral Prep. I've told you that, and Eileen is also very happy that the Villa tradition is continuing at Cathedral Prep, to the extent that it can when you're merging two different schools. But I think that it's all very positive, and it speaks well for the future of Cathedral Prep and the community. A lot of the leaders in the community I mean, I am biased, but they're from Cathedral Prep or the Villa.
Yeah.
Now, my husband's first cousin, Dr. Marie, went to Mercyhurst Prep, and it was a very good school, and it still is. But we're here to talk about Cathedral Prep today.
Yeah.
So.
And that is really cool. Shout out to Brendan. Hope
Yeah.
you're doing well. If you're listening right now, I'm sure you are.
He'll be. All the kids are going to be. I hope all the kids can be at the Legacy Gala, March 16th.
That'll be great. That'll be
Yeah.
great to see them, be able to to catch up with them.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be an amazing night, and that's a good, plug for anybody who
Yes.
doesn't know that, yourself or you're getting honored at the event, and so is Joe Clucker, who's a prep graduate in 1970, and it's going to be a great night. It's a great fundraiser for our school. We have a good time, but again, it's focused on the mission of why we're there, and that's to help the students that are at prep now. And speaking of which, you're being honored this year. And once I found out, now I got to say, I asked you to be on the podcast before I even knew your name was in consideration for this award. So I told President Kevin Smith, I was like, what a coincidence that this worked out great.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I did not just happen to ask you knowing this was coming.
Very good.
The timing just worked out really serendipity, But I wanted to ask you, as we wind down here, what did that mean to you when he asked you to be honored with the award, and how did that make you feel about?
Well, I was totally surprised, and I was, just totally surprised because you don't expect such a thing. I just try to live my life and do the next right thing, as a wife and a mother, and as a member of the community. And I'm very honored to speak, to be a spokesperson for the prep and the Legacy Gala, which is really to promote the education at Cathedral Prep for the men and women of Cathedral Prep. So I'm very excited about that, and I was totally surprised. But just a little thing, I mentioned to you a while back, and I really have to say this, that I was born in Limerick, Ireland, and we immigrated when I was a baby. And we grew up on 9th Street. We had 8 kids, and 7 girls and 1 boy. And all 7 of us went to the Villa, all the girls. And hopefully many of them will be at the event in March. My brother did not go to prep. He didn't want to.
Oh, man.
But I will say that one of his sons is a priest, Father James Power, who graduated in the class of 2008 with Brendan. And so we're very grateful for Father Jamie, and hopefully he'll be at the event. He's right now he's pastor at St. Joseph's in Sharon, and so hopefully he'll be able to come up and be part of the event. But so it's a very it's an honor, but it's an opportunity to stand up and say I support Catholic education. And I wish nothing but the best for Cathedral Prep and the men and women of Prep. And I ask people out there to support this mission and this school, because it's a powerful engine here in this Erie community, as evidenced by what the alumni are doing locally and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate that, and we're excited to honor you at our Legacy Gala event. It's always such a fun night. We have a great turnout for it, and as we've mentioned, it's that event being an opportunity for us to bring in tons of people to support a great cause and mission that we have at Prep.
Right.
And we're excited to do so by honoring yourself and Mr. Joe Clucker that evening. But all right, I got one final question for you. A little surprise one, all right? But I have a little bit of a common theme that I ask my alumni guests as the last question. Is I always ask them, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know now, and speak at your graduation at Villa, what is it that you would like to tell your classmates, knowing what you know now?
Okay, I can tell you.
Yeah.
All right. You don't have to be in the National Honor Society. You don't have to be first in your class. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. But you have to be somebody who's positive, who's open to opportunity, and who never gives up. Because, and be true to yourself, because that is how you live a life worth living. Accolades and all of these other things are very nice, but if you can't communicate, if you can't get along with people, if you can't set your goals and move forward, it's all for naught. And also to have the faith, to have the faith and to be grateful for the things that we have. But you don't have to be first, because sometimes being first, it doesn't do anything. It's very nice, but it doesn't necessarily translate into a successful life. So that's what I would like to say.
Well, that gave me chills, because we were just talking about an amazing award you're getting, and it's so awesome. Just speaks to your character and who you are, to take that and then say, that doesn't even mean anything.
No, you don't have to be first.
Yeah.
You just have to do the next right thing. And do the right thing, and if you do the wrong thing, apologize and ask how you can do it better, and do it better. We're human beings, we make mistakes. But no, you don't have to be first. You don't have to be the best, the brightest. Now, having said that, if you want to be in the beast and be timed and be first, it's okay. Andy Hellman has won. He's a graduate.
He's a prep grad.
And he has won pretty much every year. I think one, Andy, you didn't win? He won this year again. But he's a great guy, and he's raised money for the Barber Institute. So anyway, kind of go off track.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be
glad
number
you gave
one.
him a shout out, though,
I am giving him a shout out.
He needs it.
He's a great, great guy. We really come to know so many wonderful people. I can't even, God has been good. And it's just with, coming and doing the next right thing every day with no expectation. And that's really how that's the best way to look at life. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time. This has been great, being able to talk through with you about all the amazing things that you're doing here at the Barber Center, reflecting with us at your time at Villa, and talking about why you support the causes you do so much, and why the community is important to you. It's been really great talking with you, Bridget. I'm excited for you to be honored at our Legacy Gala event coming up, and we're thankful for the great work you're doing here at the Institute and the community as a whole. So again, thank you for the time being on the podcast, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you again very soon. But just want to thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Well, thank you, Jimmy, for having me. And if I don't see you before that, before Christmas, have a beautiful Christmas and a blessed Christmas. And I will see you March 16th. 2024.
2024.
At the Bayfront Convention Center.
That's right.
All right.
Save the date, people.
Get our special clothing on, because it's going to be a big night for the Cathedral Prep.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you.